Hey yo, salute to the people. It's the social forecast. Today is Monday, July 29th. I hope you all did something today to further your goals and to help you realize your dreams. Alright, so this most recent mass shooting, public shooting, whatever y'all want to call it. Interesting twist when I saw the news update on this shooting out in Northern California at the food festival. It's like when I scroll through like the Twitter feeds, the comments, the posts, the interesting thing that's been happening, and I knew this was going to happen, and I actually called this at the last time we had a mass shooting that was reported. It seems like while the public outcry, I'm sure, is still felt the way it always has been since these things first started, these tragedies first started, people aren't talking about it as much. And see, that's the sad drawback when these things start to become too repeatedly occurring. Like, these things happen so often now, you become numb to it after a while, and it just becomes another normal part of. It's kind of like back in the 80s and the 90s, and growing up in certain cities where there's a lot of violence and drugs and a lot of gang shootings and shit like that, and it gets to the point where the news even stops reporting on certain things because it's just not front page worthy anymore. It's not like national coverage worthy anymore. Now, this story is still being covered by the media, all across all platforms, both social, digital, and printed. However, it's just become a normal part of life in 2019. It's sad. It shouldn't be that way, but it is what it is, and it gets to the point where it's like you don't even hear people talking about what the government should do or shouldn't do to step in, because I think it's clear to people now that the government is not interested in any legislation that would in any way, shape, or form upset the NRA and whatever other lobbyists who publicly continue to be in support of the right to bear arms. And I've never had an issue with a citizen exercising their constitutional rights, but at a certain point, it's like it either has to be all or nothing, or these kinds of things will continue to happen. We're talking about kids, we're talking about fathers, mothers, daughters, brothers, sisters who continue to be shot, injured, killed because of these mass shootings, and it gets to the point where it's like nobody is safe. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter what you do, whether it's a family-oriented event and you think, okay, it's just a food festival, or you think, okay, it's just a concert. No reason for anybody who leaves their house to think that something like that is going to happen. And it gets to the point where you really start to consider, especially if you have children, it's like, why even go out at all anymore? Because that's the point I think a person like me reaches. It's like I have to consider that every time I plan or want to plan to do something or go out with my family. It's like, do I even want to go to a public place where something like this could happen? Because it could be anywhere, any place, anytime. It could be anybody. And what makes it so sad, I think, and what makes it so scary is a lot of these people don't have targets. Like they were saying, this most recent mass shooting, at least preliminarily, is random. Meaning this person doesn't know, or these people don't know or care who they're aiming at, shooting at. They just want to take lives. Maybe they want the attention of being on national news outlets or all over social media. Maybe this is just these people who clearly have mental issues. Maybe it's their way of going viral. Maybe it's their way of, I don't know, seeking infamy, attention, because our society today is all about getting attention in some way, shape, or form. And it's all of us. We're all guilty of it. It doesn't matter if you're a politician vying for votes. It doesn't matter if you're on a campaign trail. It doesn't matter if you're a news reporter, putting yourself in dangerous situations on the scene and on the site of horrific events and tragedies where people lost lives, and yet you're trying to get interviews and interview people while they're dealing with an experience in the most terrifying time, in their life. Interviewing people who are crying because they just lost loved ones, or they have loved ones in the hospital. They don't know if they're going to make it. And all they want is the story. All they want is somebody to speak on it for their notoriety. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter if you're a blogger. It doesn't matter if you make videos for YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. It's like these things happen. They're hot topics. And so people come out in droves to make videos to talk about them. That's why, at the very least, and you could say, anybody would be lying if they didn't say, as far as the YouTubers and the bloggers go, if that it's not done for views, because of course on some level you want people to hear what you're saying, you want people to watch your videos, you want people to like, comment, and subscribe to your channel. And there's nothing really necessarily wrong with that on the surface, but that's why, at the very least, this channel, The Social Forecast, is put here to talk about things that are affecting everybody on a global level, not just locally, not just nationally, but on a global scale. And I say it all the time, that's why a channel like this, a platform like this, is not going to have the 500,000 subscribers, the tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands, and millions of views, because unfortunately, when you are not doing ratchet shit, when you are not just senselessly entertaining people, it's a very small fraction of the community, of the population, that actually wants to hear real shit and understands real shit and wants to talk about real shit. That's what this platform is here for. And I'm gonna do what I do no matter what. But all I really wanted to come through and talk about, as far as this most recent mass shooting is concerned, is just go out on your social media this past weekend, right? Over this past weekend, and just look at the difference. If you scroll all the way back, if you go look at some of the most recent shootings prior to this one, the public outcry, the posts, the comments, far more shocking, far more out there, exponentially more that was talked about in this most recent mass shooting. And I don't know if it has to do with the fact that maybe there wasn't as many people killed, because there were only a handful of people killed, but one person is too many in a situation like this. There were several people that were shot, injured, in serious and critical condition. But regardless of if nobody's killed, or 20 people or 200 are killed, anytime somebody decides to get an assault rifle, any kind of automatic powered weapon, and start shooting into the public at a public event where people go with their families to have a good time and enjoy, what few stress-free moments we have away from work, away from the responsibilities of being adults and having to worry about bills and shit like that. Now you can't even do shit like that, because you got to worry about some faceless, crazy person in the crowd who you've never seen before, will never see again, shooting up an event and causing people's lives to be changed in the most heinous way a person could ever imagine. And what's sad, it's not just, and I know, people probably won't care about this tidbit, but even for the people suffering from whatever delusions they're suffering from that makes them want to go out and commit these senseless acts of violence, even for the person doing it, they're ruining their life too. Now, this individual who was, gunned down by police, and rightfully so, in order for them to eliminate the threat that was caused. Even this person ruined their life for nothing. We don't know who this person was. We don't know what their life was like. We don't know if they had a record. We don't know what their financial situation was. We don't know what their home life or family situation was. But regardless of whatever it was, it's another life that's lost that didn't have to be. All because somebody woke up that morning and decided, for whatever reason, that this was the solution. This was the way out. This is how I'm going to assert myself today. This is how I'm going to stamp myself in history. And it's sad. It's sad. And I hope, even though I'm losing hope, I hope that we get to a point where we don't have to become desensitized when shit like this continues to happen. I hope we can get to a point where the government can see its citizens, innocent people, losing their lives, being injured, families being torn apart, changed for the worse forever, and actually do what the government is supposed to do and take care of its citizens and provide an alternative where people can feel safe. We all contribute to the system that makes up the government. Every one of us, all of us. We do it when we pay our taxes. We do it when we abide by laws that even some of us don't agree with. We do it when we get up and go to work every day to support and provide for our families. We do it when we file our taxes every year. We do it when we continue to not rebel against the system for taxes being taken out of our paychecks before we even see a dollar of our paycheck. The least the government can do is to provide the support that, let's just be honest, we are paying them for. And as long as the government is left to police itself, and as long as the government seeks financial and political support from some of the same organizations and groups that are indirectly responsible for these mass shootings, we're never going to see a difference. As long as there are politicians who are in the pockets of these NRA gun manufacturers, as long as they rely on them to get them elected, to keep them in office, to keep them in the powerful position that they're in, we're never going to see a change. And that's the biggest tragedy, even bigger than people losing their lives. People will always lose their lives. That has been something that's been going on since the beginning of the time. That will never change. If it's not a mass shooting, it'll be something else. The tragedy here is that the government continues to stand by and do nothing. And yet it still has not been enough for the countless number of people who have lost family members and loved ones, friends, co-workers, siblings. They still have not stood up and said, you know what, we can stop this. We need to shut the system down. And I'm not anybody to be calling for any kind of revolution or anything. I'm just saying, if we can all fight against each other when we have disagreements, and if we can all stand up and voice our opinions against bloggers who make videos and who talk about these types of things and comment on what they're wearing and what they look like and how many followers or subscribers they have, and go back and forth on social media and post memes and talk shit about what celebrity drama is going on. If we can do all of that and we don't shy away from conflict when it comes to those things, then we can stand the fuck up and do and say something when it comes to things that are really affecting the lives of people all around us. These are neighbors. Forget even just friends and family. These are neighbors of people who they will never see again. Will never see again. And it's just crazy. People's lives changed forever, and all they did was wake up and decide to leave the house that day. People who chose to be there because they wanted to support local business, or, you know, make an experience out of going to a food festival. Maybe it was something that they did as a tradition every year. People who had to be there because it was their job and they were just going to work to provide for their families, who had no choice but to get up and go to work. And some of those people who might not make it home, and the people who do, who were injured, who were shot, when they finally do make it back home, will never be the same mentally or emotionally. And for the people who saw people being shot and gunned down and killed in front of them, will never be the same. It just changes a whole world of people And even as those things happen and are being reported about in the news, the effects of those things won't truly be seen until months, years, and decades down the line. It's just senseless. It's just senseless. Anyway, man, like, comment, and subscribe. Y'all know me. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. I'm my biggest fan. Be yours. Peace and love.